Many things can change in 10 years. Trends come and go, the music industry is spinning, and the world is becoming a very different place. But, for those who pay attention, there is one thing that seems to be frozen in time. Taehyung and Jungkook. Taekook. In 2016, we saw two young men growing up together under the spotlight. And today, in the year 2026, we see two grown men who still have the same world. Is this just a coincidence, or a parallelism that they deliberately show? Let's take a look at the moments that make us feel like we are experiencing déjà vu. Body language experts often say that the eyes cannot lie. In 2016, Jungkook was known as the Bam Tol gaze, a look full of admiration at his young. 10 years later, in 2026, the intensity did not decrease. Notice how the angle of Jungkook's head remains the same. In psychology, this is called mirroring, a sign of extreme comfort with someone. Even though they are now global stars with different auras, the way they look for each other in the crowd is still an identical pattern. In the past, V was a protector for Jungkook who was still a teenager and shy. He often pulls Jungkook in front of the camera to be more confident. Now, in 2026, the situation seems to be reversed but with the same essence. We see Jungkook who is more protective, always making sure V feels comfortable in every public situation. This parallelism shows the evolution of a healthy relationship, from a protector to an equal partner. It's no longer about who is older, but about who is always there. Remember the theory about purple and green in 2016? Or how do they often wear items that look paired accidentally? In 2026, these symbols reappear in a more subtle form. Starting from the choice of the same music producer to the reference in the lyrics of their solo songs. Is this a secret message for fans? Or have their tastes come together after a decade together? In the end, a theory is just a theory. However, seeing two people still have such a strong connection after going through a 10-year storm of popularity is something rare. 2016 is the beginning of many things, and 2026 is proof that some ties are indeed destined to never break. In your opinion, which parallel moment makes you the most emotional? Write in the comment column below.
Have you ever heard the term personal space? For most people, there is a comfortable distance that we keep with other people. But for Taekook, the distance doesn't seem to exist since 2016. In the early years, we often saw them clinging to each other, sharing earphones, and sleeping on each other's shoulders. Now in 2026, even though they have become independent adult men, this magnet Taekook phenomenon is still consistent. Notice how at big events, they will instinctively always end up standing side by side. This is not just a management directive, because their body language shows muscle relaxation that only happens when we are around people we trust 100%. This parallelism proves that their comfort with each other is permanent, not just the teenage phase. This is the most interesting part. If we go back to 2016, Jungkook released Begin, a song about how his youngs, especially a specific person, shaped his current self. "You make me begin," he said. Fast forward to 2026, in Taehyung's latest solo album, we find a metaphor that seems to answer that message. There are lyrical patterns about home, purple, and time that stops. The parallelism of the narrative in their artwork shows that they continue to exchange inspirations artistically. Are these lyrics a love letter hidden in the melody? Or are they indeed telling the same story from two different points of view? Obviously, the common thread between their discography is too strong to be ignored. In 2026, their performance ability has reached its peak. However, the real miracle happened when they were on the same stage. We see synchronization that goes beyond thousands of hours of practice. This is chemistry that has been honed for a decade. Pay attention to the ad-lib moment in their latest concert. Without looking at each other, they did the same hand movement in the same second. This parallelism reminds us of their legendary moment in 2016 when doing a handshake without looking. 10 years have passed, and the telepathic connection has not faded in the slightest. This is no longer a matter of practice, this is a soul connection. Looking at parallelism from 2016 to 2026 makes us realize that some things are destined to remain. They are not just a groupmate, they are living witnesses of each other's growth. Before this video ends, I want you to see this last photo. Show the most emotional parallel photo. What do you think they will do in 2036? Will we still see the same parallelism? Convey your theory in the comment column, because I will read and reply to the most interesting theory.
Many things can change in 10 years. Trends come and go, the music industry is spinning, and the world is becoming a very different place. But, for those who pay attention, there is one thing that seems to be frozen in time. Taehyung and Jungkook. Taekook. In 2016, we saw two young men growing up together under the spotlight. And today, in the year 2026, we see two grown men who still have the same world. Is this just a coincidence, or a parallelism that they deliberately show? Let's take a look at the moments that make us feel like we are experiencing déjà vu. Body language experts often say that the eyes cannot lie. In 2016, Jungkook was known as the Bam-tol gaze, a look full of admiration at his young. 10 years later, in 2026, the intensity did not decrease. Notice how the angle of Jungkook's head remains the same. In psychology, this is called mirroring, a sign of extreme comfort with someone. Even though they are now global stars with different auras, the way they look for each other in the crowd is still an identical pattern. In the past, V was a protector for Jungkook who was still a teenager and shy. He often pulls Jungkook in front of the camera to be more confident. Now, in 2026, the situation seems to be reversed but with the same essence. We see Jungkook who is more protective, always making sure V feels comfortable in every public situation. Notice how the angle of Jungkook's head remains the same. In psychology, this is called mirroring, a sign of extreme comfort with someone. Even though they are now global stars with different auras, the way they look for each other in the crowd is still an identical pattern. In the past, V was a protector for Jungkook who was still a teenager and shy. He often pulls Jungkook in front of the camera to be more confident. Now, in 2026, the situation seems to be reversed but with the same essence. We see Jungkook who is more protective, always making sure V feels comfortable in every public situation. This parallelism shows the evolution of a healthy relationship, from a protector to an equal partner. It's no longer about who is older, but about who is always there. Remember the theory about purple and green in 2016? Or how do they often wear items that look paired accidentally? In 2026, these symbols reappear in a more subtle form. Starting from the choice of the same music producer to the reference in the lyrics of their solo songs. Is this a secret message for fans? Or have their tastes come together after a decade together? In the end, a theory is just a theory. However, seeing two people still have such a strong connection after going through a 10-year storm of popularity is something rare. 2016 is the beginning of many things, and 2026 is proof that some ties are indeed destined to never break. In your opinion, which parallel moment makes you the most emotional? Write in the comment column below.